Hello and welcome everyone to Teslanomics Live. I'm your host Ben Sullins, and this is the show where we break down the latest Tesla news from the week that has passed. And we do it live because, as you know, things move quickly in the world of Tesla and Elon Musk. And today is no exception to that. So I've got a few stories we'll cover, and then we'll get to the Q&A on the end. If you're new here and wondering how you could be a part of that, you can just join our email list at teslanomics.co/join. And then on Mondays before the show, you get an invite so you can join that Q&A session, which is hosted on Crowdcast. So thank you everyone for joining me, and let's just dive right in. First and foremost, I want to talk about something I saw over the weekend from Inside EVs, who I love their site, and a lot of their content is very data related, so I love that about them. And on their site, they had this post, which has Tesla Model 3 outsold all BMW passenger cars in the US. And they cited a couple different sources here, and there was a tweet, I believe, that tipped them off. And one of the interesting things about this is that I wanted to dig in and learn more, because that's what I do. And of course, that's, I assume, why you guys come and watch this stuff. And so I did that. And so I looked at the BMW group, and they have these sales reports here. And it's kind of interesting how they break it down, because the SUVs in their space, the X3s and X5s, are classified as trucks and not passenger cars, or light trucks is what they're called. So while the Tesla Model 3 did outsell all BMW passengers cars, it didn't sell out the brand. So BMW still actually has an edge overall, but it's still a pretty good figure and a good number for them. And so I wanted to dig deeper, so what I did is I took all of the passenger cars that they have listed there, and I pulled them into this Google Sheet here, so you can see every single model, and then I pulled those into Tableau, where I do a lot of my analytics work, and I just wanted to see kind of how they fared and what the deal was. And then when I was doing that, I actually learned a little bit more that the Tesla Model 3 not only is outselling all the BMW passenger cars combined, it is number 5 overall in the US market right now for all vehicles. And again, this excludes SUVs and those kind of things. So then I started tugging on that thread a little bit, and that's where we got some really interesting data. So I have some stuff that we're going to look at here, but you can see that essentially the Tesla Model 3 is almost, it's inching its way up the ladder here. And now that Tesla is producing these cars at an extremely high rate, and of course they have, thousands and thousands of reservations still waiting to be fulfilled, the sales part isn't going to be a challenge for them. It's more about the production, and that's what we've seen to date. So really interesting stuff. So I pulled in all of the U.S. auto sales as well for the past, for every month since January, and then I wanted to compare that as well. So I got all this data here, and here's what I was able to come up with. So you can see on this chart that the Model 3 since January, and this is the good car, bad car data, so it's questionable. Like, they have the Model 3 listed at 1,000 units in January, but we know that they were making that per week, and so this likely is a much bigger figure here, but this is what they have, and then it looks like they really started to track this. So from there, it jumps up to 6,000 in May. It drops a little bit in June, and then it jumps all the way up to 1,300 in July. 14,000 in July, and then up to 17,800 in August. So that is a 1,680% increase from January, which is, as you can see, it's just basically taking over. Every line here on this chart, these are the top 20 selling autos in the US, excluding SUVs and trucks and those kind of things. And it is, you can just see that basically a lot of them are kind of floundering, and then the Model 3 is just skyrocketing it up. So that's great news for Tesla and Tesla fans. And of course, there's all kinds of stuff, all kinds of additional data about that. So here is the top 20. Here are the top 20 auto sales in the US broken down. And you can see the thing that stands out to me is that this goes back to on the earnings call when they were talking about the top 5 cars being traded in for a Tesla Model 3 are things like the Honda Civic and Toyota Prius and those kind of things, which are, anywhere between 130 to 180% cheaper than the Tesla Model 3. So it's kind of crazy, and you can see that here. So the Toyota Corolla family is the next one up, and it's actually quite a bit there. So 26,000 sales is a big number for Tesla to try to hit, because if you think about it, if they're producing 5,000 a week times 4 weeks, that's only 20,000 that they're even making, and this is assuming that 100% of those are spoken for already. Now, there are other reports of different ways that Tesla is trying to kind of burst deliver some of these, including what Electrek reported as an immediate delivery, where if you want your car now and you don't, the options, you're okay with whatever they choose, essentially, you can literally get it like within a day or two. And this is a strategy that I found interesting, because talking with some folks at Tesla many months ago when the Model 3 was first delivered, it was something that we talked about, like kind of how Amazon delivers products, right? Amazon will predict what products are going to be ordered in a certain area, and they will proactively ship those products to that area. So when you place the order, you can get it within a couple hours. That's how they're able to do that so effectively. Also, how their bookstores are doing very well. Now, Tesla is seemingly taking a similar approach, where they're pre-making the cars regardless before people order them, using data to predict which models and which colors and which options people are going to want, and shipping them to those locations in advance. So this is where you see reports and different things of like hundreds of Model 3s sitting around in a parking lot. It's because of that. And this also ties into this new report about them having a new delivery experience where they'll literally deliver hundreds of cars at a time. So really fascinating stuff, and the question is whether or not they can break top 5 or move up here. It's going to be hard to beat the 26,000 cars in a month right now. Even if they're producing cars at 6,000 a month, you're still not really there. So it's one of those things, like, I was just fascinated to know, like, there are more Model 3s being sold than the Hyundai Elantra, the Nissan Altima, the Nissan Sentra. These are cars that are vastly cheaper. I mean, if you were to throw it into the premium category, it's winning hands down. But I don't want to do that, because I want to consider the Model 3 a mass market car. And so these are kind of the mass market vehicles sold in the US. And you can see kind of how it stacks up here. So fascinating stuff. It's really encouraging to me to hear about kind of how these things are going, and follow it, because this is the transition that we're looking for. This is the actual change from fossil fuel based vehicles to electric vehicles. And Elon was on a podcast recently where he was talking about some interesting things. He said, even if you can snap your fingers and instantly every single car being sold in the world was electric, it would still take 25 years for us to get to the point where we didn't have any more gas or diesel cars in the world, because it takes that long for all of the other ones to basically be phased out and sent off to the junkyard. So crazy stuff, but it's all happening very quickly, and it's all very exciting. So let me know if you guys have received yours, if you're waiting on it, if you have any interesting stories to tell. The best way to probably reach me would be on my website at teslanomics.co, and you can fill out the contact form there if you have any interesting story that you would like to share here with the community, because from time to time I do pick those up, because you guys are really part of this community that are helping us understand what's happening with this transition, and that's what this channel is all about. All right, so there's kind of the lead story here. Exciting stuff. Now I want to take a look at a different thing that happened, and this is just an update on my vehicle, which is maybe a parallel or some insights for you guys as to maybe what is to come. Now, if you don't recall, back in March, I had some damage to my Tesla Model 3, and this is a video of that damage immediately when it happened. And this is the passenger side rocker panel. I hit a curb, and it's largely due because my car is lowered, and it came out of nowhere. And I think they literally put it there while I was parked. And this damage required them to bend and kind of cut and repaint and refix and fix all of that stuff there, because you can see the damage is kind of extensive. Let me go back to it here. And so I finally got the car back. It was in the shop for 2 weeks, and they were able to repair it. We've heard kind of horror stories about people having to take months to get new parts. That, thankfully wasn't the case here. And the reason is because the side of the car is not aluminum. It's made from different grades of steel, and this is an old. I don't know if this is the current exact model version, but this is essentially a diagram explaining how that is. So there's different grades of steel at different layers, and so the mild steel in this one, the blue one, is the one that was damaged. And you can see the aluminum underneath. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse right here. That piece was not damaged, so they were able to just essentially repair it like any body shop could, which is great. Which actually speaks to the fact that the repairability on the Model 3 in terms of body damage, which is by far the most kind of difficult thing to deal with Tesla, is better. It's a better situation than Model S or Model X, which are aluminum and require typically a brand new part, which can be very expensive. It can hurt your insurance and all those kind of things. Tez is back. Tez is the name of my Model 3. Here's a little video of it now, so you can kind of see, the before and after. Looks beautiful. There's really, no signs of it at all. If I run my hand over it, I can kind of feel a little bit of a different texture. But the guys there at Amatos here in San Diego did a fantastic job repairing it, and then of course they took it over to Elite Finish to get kind of detailed and polished up and all those kind of things. So if you're in San Diego, those are the folks that I recommend. It's not a sponsor or anything like that. That's just who I used, and it went well. The one downside of this that I want to just mention was that the cost. So I highly recommend that if you have any body damage to your Tesla, that you go through your insurance. Now, my insurance deductible I think was $750, and that's fine because the damages on this, while the original estimates were in the $3,000 to $4,000 range for the damage, they ballooned up to over $6,000. And that actually is still fairly cheap because this quarter panel, which this rocker panel is connected to, may have costed upwards of $10,000 to $15,000 to repair if it had actually to be replaced instead of just fixed in a typical kind of way. So use your insurance, even if the initial quote you get is relatively low, because these are those kind of things where once you start getting into them, you really don't know where it's going to go. So all signs are good. All things are happy when it comes to this situation. Jenny, my wife, is now driving it full time, and I have my Model S back, which I'm happy about because it's just a more functional vehicle and I really enjoy it. And she likes a smaller car. It's a lot more fun to drive and that kind of a thing. So all is well, and there's the quick update on Tez and what's going on there. Now, next I want to talk about. This was, I had a fun weekend with my family. We went up to Ojai, California, and in Ojai, we did some fun stuff where we just kind of hung out and really had just 2 full days at this beautiful destination charger, destination charging location, and it was courtesy of Tesla. I mean, really, it was courtesy of you. This was from the referral program. It was last year. Anyone that got 20 referrals would get qualified for this destination getaway. And there's a funny side story here I'll tell you at the end of this, but I had a great time, and while I was there, I shot a little review. So here is, let me send it over to the field agent for us here at the Ojai Valley Inn in California. Thanks, Ben. Ben here at the Ojai Valley Inn in Ojai, California, and it's pretty incredible. This is one of the nicest Tesla destinations I've been to yet. We have 6 chargers behind me. They seem to be pretty open, even though we're in a place that's extremely populated with Teslas. 2 of them are 100 amp chargers right here, and the rest are 50 amp, which for overnight charging is plenty. I was able to come in, and they offered to valet park. I opted not to do that because I was going to pop in here myself and just handle it. I'm a little sketchy about people driving my car right now, especially after just getting it back from some damages. But overall, the place is fantastic. The pool is really great. There's a couple of them here. If you have kids, there's a nice kids one with full cafe service and everything like that. And one of the funny things is it's kind of very hilly around here. So they actually have these shuttles that will take you around the whole place. So if you're, up on one of the upper levels like I am, and you want to go all the way down to the bottom, they have some of these little golf cart shuttles that will just take you wherever you want to go. Like that guy right there. And so there's golf courses here, and there's a town which is really kind of cute and quaint and tiny, but still has really good food and things like that. So overall, 2 thumbs up. Really great experience here. It is a bit on the pricey side if you're not used to staying at the higher end places. For me, it was a bit of a bit out of my comfort zone, but it was really well worth it. And I really do love indulging in places like this when I can afford to. So there you go. That's my short review of the Ojai Valley Inn in Ojai, California. All right, so that was the quick review, some photos here and some questions about this. So this is the 100 amp charger. It's the same as the wall charger that you can buy. And this one's, it's connected to a 100 amp circuit. And if you're wondering, hey, why is that? Well, if you bought a Model S or Model X, you can upgrade them to have dual chargers, where I believe it can handle up to 72 amps and then charge basically twice as fast, or almost twice as fast as a Model 3 or a regular Model S. It doesn't have the dual chargers. I don't know if they're even selling that anymore, or if people are interested in buying that. I don't really see the point in it unless you're doing Uber or something with your Tesla, to where you need to recharge super fast. But they had 2 of them there. I plugged one in. I plugged into one just to see what would happen. It pulled the same 48 amps as the other one did, so really no difference at all. A little bit quicker than the one at my house, which is only 40 amps because I don't have the wall charger. So there you have it. So yeah, that was kind of cool. And that's just a little bit of insight as to why you might see those and what the difference might be. The place was gorgeous. The valet, I wasn't thrilled with when I got there. It was kind of an awkward thing where they told me, oh, all the chargers are full. You can't park over there. Meanwhile, I literally just drove by it, and there was 2 cars out of 6 in there. So I said, okay, buddy, I'll see you later. And I went over and drove myself. The place is gorgeous, though, and it's in a beautiful part of California where it's east, meaning it's going to be, you don't get the coastal marine layer or anything like that. It's only about 15 to 20 minutes from the coast, depending on traffic. And it's kind of a beautiful, quaint little town. They have these kind of great mountain ranges here and all these kind of things. I would recommend eating on site because the food at the resort is fantastic, and I think that any money you might save by going out is going to be more of a pain than just staying there. So had a great weekend there. If you guys are interested in looking at a really cool place in California, I would highly recommend the Ojai Valley Inn. It is a bit more pricey than I'm used to paying, but for just a couple nights, I would say it's worth it. It's a pretty fantastic location. And if you love golf, it has a great golf course there as well. Okay. So next I want to talk about something that I've been working on this for a little while, and I wanted to bring it up today because I just wanted to kind of finally do it. And so the title I came up with was that 1.5 million trips don't lie. Tesla Model 3 efficiency is incredible. And so let me explain what I'm talking about here with some data. I am a part of a company called TesLab, and we have an app that helps you track things like your efficiency, phantom drain, also allows you soon to be able to control your car. So, a lot of the functionality you get out of the regular Tesla app we'll have in our app. And it's awesome. So if you like data and you like Teslas, you have to go get it. It's free. And we're very, very sensitive around phantom drain and pinging the car and security and all those things. So, I don't know what anyone else is doing out there, but I can say that those 2 things, security and then effect on your phantom drain by pinging the car to get that data, are top of mind for us in all of our design meetings and everything. So the data that is interesting of this is that we now have 1.5 million driving trips. And when we call it a trip, it means you actually, the car was in a driving state for a period of time. And so looking at that driving state, we're able to calculate things like your efficiency. And the way we do that is we look at essentially your rated range. So if the car says you have 100 miles of range and you were to drive to 0, did you get 90 miles? Did you travel 105 miles? Whatever that ratio is, we divide those two numbers and give you your efficiency. And so what's really fun about this is that we now have 1.5 million trips logged and over 6.5 thousand vehicles, 6,500 vehicles in the fleet that are being monitored here. And you can see that the Model 3 is crushing the Model S and the Model X. And, with this, we have over 1,000 Model 3s in our fleet here. We have over 4,000 Model S's and then 1,300 Model X's. So these numbers aren't insignificant, right? It's not like we had 10 cars and wrote this, or 100 or 50 or 200. We have like thousands and thousands of vehicles across hundreds of thousands of trips per vehicle type that we're analyzing. So this literally is some of the most in-depth and biggest data that we have on the Tesla fleet outside of Tesla themselves. And so this is why I think it's so fascinating, why I'm really excited to be a part of this company that are helping people understand how to get more out of their Teslas here. So 88.3% compared to 72.5. That is a big difference. That is a huge difference. And you can see kind of the median efficiency, because maybe the other ones have wilder swings or whatever. You can see that the Model 3 is consistently above. I mean, look at this, over 90% efficiency here in some of these months. You can see it kind of dipped recently, and the other ones are kind of more consistent there. But I was fascinated when I pulled this up, and I have this data. I have it set up to automatically refresh every night. I may put this on my website, so if I do, I'll email you guys. So make sure to go get on the email list so you know about it. And the next thing I wanted to do was I built a way to look at this by location. So if you're curious kind of, how people are faring from an efficiency standpoint in your area, you'd be able to do this too. So if I wanted to, like, let's say I wanted to look at Manhattan, or I think this is Manhattan. Let me just zoom in here. Get my little tool. Someone help point me towards Manhattan. I think this is Long Island, right? I think Manhattan's kind of right in the middle here. Yep, so here you go. So you can see down at the zip code level the efficiency rating, and you can see how the color difference there. So for example, this one, whatever the zip code is, 11725, the Model 3 is at 95% efficiency in this zip code. And then if you go just a couple zip codes over, the Model 3 is actually above 100%, which is crazy. You may wonder how that's possible. Well, if you're going downhill and you aren't using energy, you're possibly regenerating energy. Or if you're going incredibly slow and then you barely lose any energy, you're going to be close to 100% or above. In fact, in Colorado, we see it a lot, where there's a lot of mountains where people on a regular basis get trips that are far above 100%. And this is why we use the median, because there definitely is, if you think about it, there's a wide distribution of data here. It's not a very normal kind of bell curve, and so we want to use median to kind of pick the middle and reduce some of the noise. And then you can see some of the other areas here that are a bit lower. Like look at this Model X at 33% efficiency. So I just thought this was really fun. Some kind of fun data to pull up. We do have Hawaii in here as well if you guys are in Hawaii. So yeah, again, get on the email list, and I'll post this. Let me see if I can just go to California, because I know a lot of you guys are in California. Look at this. We have efficiency out in oh, that's probably one of those weird zip codes. So you can kind of get down to San Diego here. You can kind of see, all the different areas and essentially who's more efficient than the other. So anyways, I just thought this would be fun to post. And yeah, stay tuned, because I will share this with you guys online. I literally was just working on it this morning. It's probably a deeper story to tell here as well. But I am curious what you guys feel about it in terms of how your driving is going and how it is for your Model 3. Is this something that you guys are noticing? Is it something that you're paying attention to? Do you have the app? If not, why not? Go get it. You can actually do that at teslabapp.com. And let me pull that up for you so you can kind of see what it looks like. Make sure you're on the right page. So it's Teslab with a Z, because that's how Tesla is supposed to be pronounced, for anyone that had a question about that. You can go to teslabapp.com, download it. And if you do have a Model X or S, we have an in-car dashboard as well that's paired to your phone. So when you're driving, it gives you things like Waze, as well as it gives you a Doppler radar, which has clouds and stuff like that. I'm in California. The rest of the team's in Brooklyn. I'm not quite sure why you would need a map showing you where the clouds and the rain are, because we don't have those out here. But anyways, go check it out. Curious what your guys' thoughts are on it. And if you have any questions, please contact me directly through my website. And if you have any bugs or anything like that, I'd love to hear about it, because me and the team are working on this every single day. And we've got a solid group now. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. All right, that's all for the show today, guys. I want to head over to Patreon now. We'll go through some Q&A, and then we'll do Crowdcast. So if you guys are on Crowdcast, make sure to go ask your question. If you haven't already, go vote on any questions that are there, because let's do the dang thing here. All right, let's start with Patreon. And if I can pull that up correctly, there it is. Let me scroll over to it. Let me just refresh this, make sure that... All right. Crafty Geek. Whoops. Crafty Geek asks, do you tend to do some autopilot testing after your Model 3 gets version 9? Also, are you excited for left side nav directions? Oh, I didn't know. Are they doing that? If so, I'm very excited for that. Although, Jenny's driving the Model 3 right now, and that's the thing for her. She basically can't use the navigation because of where the placement of the turn-by-turn directions are. I could tell you on the trip to Ojai we just went on, yeah, it was we missed the turn several times, because first off, you're on these little kind of backcountry roads without good signs and stuff like that, and I didn't have the voice on because my son was sleeping. So yeah, I'm very excited for that. I really hope they can fix the UI, because right now I just consider it broken. Thanks for the question, Crafty. Lance Larson asks, has Tesla published at summary of what limitations AP1 versus AP2? Bottom line for my situation, do I buy a used Model S with 1 or Model 3 SX with AP2, or do I just buy an older S with no AP, keep it for 2 years, sell it, then buy AP2 version? Yeah, if you can afford a brand new one, you're gonna have a better result, I would say. I actually tend to like AP1 better right now. It's less jerky and less it's smoother, I guess is the way to describe it. When it speeds up and slows down, when it changes lanes, it just does it much nicer. Whereas AP2, the cars I've driven, and I've driven them both, Model 3 and Model S, AP1, AP2, all of that. I've driven every single option that you can imagine. And so yeah, to me, right now, there isn't really a discernible difference. It depends how much you want this. On my trip back from Ojai yesterday, it was actually really nice, because I was driving through LA, and there was tons of traffic and tons of congestion. And so what I ended up doing was using it a lot. So yeah, I would say it's nice. I don't really know if there's a difference between AP1 and AP2 that's worth paying for. I would probably go with a used one with AP1 if you really wanted it. Thanks for the question. Chamburn asks, on Joe Rogan, many things were revealed by Elon, from AI to electric airplanes, and revealed about OpenAI soon. Elon says that he constantly have ideas for many things, taking the example by Hyperloop idea that he opened to anyone before and is becoming reality. Is there any way we can convince him to share and open source his ideas in public, where anyone can work on instead of just relying on himself? I don't know. That's an interesting question. Honestly, I don't know that ideas are very valuable. without him, and the resources he has to execute on it, ideas are fairly useless, I would say. Literally anyone can come up with brilliant ideas all day long, but without the resources and the ambition to execute on them, they're worthless. So yeah, I don't know. Can we convince him? No, you can't convince Elon of doing anything that he doesn't want to do. He has earned that right. It's so funny to me when people say things like that. They're like, yeah, someone needs to tell him this. No, they don't. No one needs to tell him shit. He has accomplished so much and has done such things in our world that very few people ever will. No, you don't get to tell that guy what to do. He tells you what he wants you to do. You're confusing the situation if you think that there's any way to reach him in that regard. Trust me, I've tried. Anyways, before I get on a rant about that, Bridget says, follow up on my AP trial. Summons stopped working completely after 1 week and an update. Reported it from the car. No response. What is the latest update one can get? Might fix it. So if you report a bug that's VAR'd, that's different than calling the service center. You should call the service center and ask them. And is Autopilot still considered beta? I believe lane change and steering are considered beta, but the traffic aware cruise control is not considered beta, and I don't know about Summon. Summon doesn't really work for me. Like I have a very slight incline in part of my driveway, and it just sees that and stops. So I think it's more of a party trick than anything. If you have a driveway like that, yeah, I mean, maybe it's better. Certainly, I've noticed that the Model S tends to do better, at least the ones that I've tested Summon with. So yeah, those are my thoughts on it. Thanks for the question, Bridget. Thank you all. Let's switch over to Crowdcast now, and we will get this thing going. Dink, 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 dink. And here we are. Looking good. Okay, Jim MC asks, my question concerns blind spot warning. Do you think that feature will be offered with version 9 update for those with advanced autopilot, or only those with full self-driving option? I would hope that that's included in what we call enhanced autopilot, not advanced autopilot. Yeah, it would have to be included in there because, I mean, the full self-driving, I believe, is truly like the full self-driving option. If they started to segment out little features, which are pretty standard in most cars, I would think that they'd piss off a lot of people, and it just doesn't seem right. If any, they want these cars to be safer, so I can't imagine them doing that. And I really hope that they do that. That is a much improved thing in version 9. Thanks for the question, Jim. Tom asks, have you ever tried to compare the average kilowatts per mile? Is that what that's supposed to be? Rate between regular driving mode and chill mode. I'm wondering if chill mode would give a bit more range during a 400 to 500 mile road trip with significant use of autopilot. Thanks again for your experience. I've not tried that, but I agree that would make sense. But if you're going a 400 to 500 mile road trip and you're on the freeway a lot, I don't think chill mode is going to make much of a difference. Chill mode is really only going to make difference when you're at a stop and you're starting. And so if you're on a long road trip, I assume you're taking freeways, and unless you're driving through Southern California, you're probably not going to be stopping a tremendous amount. And even when you do stop and then start going again in traffic with autopilot on, it's not. I doubt you would notice any difference between chill mode and regular mode. So yeah, I don't know. I guess in that context, I don't think it would make much of a difference. I think in the general context of like chill mode versus regular, or ludicrous if you have a S or X, I would imagine that it definitely would have a difference there. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Let me know if you do it. I'd be curious to see the data. And of course, you could use TeslaLab to record all of it automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. So thanks for the question, Tom. Phil asks, with software version 9, do you know if the Dashcam videos will be allowed to view and save for insurance legal claims? Wouldn't it be a double-edged sword? I would love love for that to be a feature. I'm actually on the fence right now about to buy 2 different dash cam things for my Teslas. Certainly, I need one for my Model S because it doesn't have any cameras or anything. But for my Model 3, Elon said it repeatedly. Again, I think it comes down to if you actually listed out all the stuff that's necessary to make that possible. I think that's a really long list. So hopefully they release like some simple version of it, to handle these kind of things. Exactly, like if there's an accident, it automatically stores it in some cloud storage. Otherwise, you can only look and see what's going on right now. I don't know. I hope that's included because I think it would be a really valuable feature. Thanks, Phil. Roscoe asks, enabled the 14-day trial of enhanced autopilot, but the Summon and Autopark not shown anywhere that they are supposed to be part of the trial. Have emailed customer support, no answer yet. Anyone else have the same problem? Yeah, so is there a software problem hotline? No, that's just the same. Yeah, so it would be in the app is where you would see Summon. I don't know if I can bring it up on mine, whether or not I can show you that right now. But the Autopark I've found not to be very good. It's funny because my friends Jesse and Zach did a video on it early on, and it was funny to me because literally that thing barely ever comes on, and when it does come on, it generally wants to put me into the back of a building. Like it'll think there's a curb there with a storefront, and it wants me to like back into it. It's so weird. I kind of want to do it one time just to see what would happen. But yeah, Summon will be on the app, and if you're not seeing it, maybe restart the app, maybe something like that. So this is what Summon looks like. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if you can actually pull that up. It's probably not going to work right now, but that's what Summon will look like, and it's in the bottom of the app on your Model 3 if you have one Tesla. So yeah, I don't know. Don't know why that wouldn't be working for you. Hopefully they can fix it. If you've called and reported it to the service center, that would be or called the service line, that would be the same one. Hope that helps, Roscoe. Walt asks, when pushing the microphone icon and asking to navigate to a destination, it will tell you where all these superchargers are and the time to charge at each and the miles and time to destination. Does it consider the time charging at each supercharger also? Yeah, it does. So it'll tell you how long you need to charge at the location, and it doesn't consider if the supercharger is full, like rerouting you to a new one. I've not seen that. That would be really cool. But yeah, essentially when you do it, it'll show you, okay, from here to here, stop at this charger for 25 minutes. Also on your phone, you'll get a notification that'll say, hey, your car is ready to go. Because typically what happens is like 30, 40 minutes, it's usually at a restaurant or something like that. You stop, you go use the bathroom, grab a bite to eat, and then, it'll give you the notification. So yeah, it does a pretty good job. Thanks for the question, Walt. Syscom asks, taking delivery tomorrow of our red Model 3 all-wheel drive. Planning on getting a dash cam, but I've heard that the update might open that feature within onboard cameras. Any truth to that? Yeah, I mean, it's certainly coming. Elon has tweeted about it a few times. I don't know if and when it's coming, so up to you whether or not you think it's valuable to do right now or wait. And I guess just kind of the situation you're in and how important that stuff is to you. I will say body damage to a Tesla Model 3 is no joke. Actually, just to any Tesla is not something to be scoffed at. The prices are high, the delays are long. It's definitely something to be wary of. But if you live in a quieter, more chill area, maybe it's not a big deal. I don't know. I'm personally on the fence about it as well. Thanks for the question. Tim asks, do you have any data on the complexity of servicing and maintaining plug-in hybrids like the Volt? I feel like they must be more prone to error than ICE and certainly more than EV. Far more moving parts. The plug-in hybrids. Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't have data on that. I would probably look at the Edmunds true cost of ownership, which have things like actual maintenance costs and those kind of things. So I would probably not care if they're more complex. I would probably only care about if it costs more, and if those repairs take longer and those kind of things. So I guess I'm thinking of the consumer in this regard. So yeah, that's where I would go. Thanks for the question, Tim. Franz asks, picked up my red Model 3, came with incorrect wheels, got rushed through the delivery process, very busy. Got the car home and after more careful inspection found paint defects on the hood and fender, scrapes on underside of hood. Now 10 days later the wheels would be replaced and the car going into body shop for paint. My point is, don't be rushed on delivery. Look very carefully before accepting your car. If I were to do it again, I'd not have taken it and wouldn't be driving a loaner. I think you still would be driving a loaner. But sure, yeah, point taken. Definitely, you know, have a close look at it before taking delivery. Thanks for the question / comment, Franz. Bob asks, looking at the data, I see that the phantom drain is quite high on my Model 3 with firmware 32.2. When at home, is it better to always be plugged in or just charge when needed? Yeah, you know, there's an old adage that we say a happy Tesla is a plugged-in Tesla. So certainly it's something to keep in mind. And people have been reporting tremendous amounts of phantom drain all over the board. It's something that I have talked to Tesla about. They said that they're aware of and that they're working on. Who knows when it'll be fixed or how it'll be fixed. Certainly the APIs for the Model 3 are different in what happens to the car compared to the Model S and Model X. For example, just pinging the Model 3 one will wake the car up if it were sleeping, whereas the Model S and Model X, it wouldn't. So those are kind of some of the differences there. I think it's something that'll improve over time. It's still early days. Thanks for the question, Bob. Phil asks, do you have more data on phantom discharge? For example, when sitting in your garage, how many kilowatt hours, from your batteries is drained? If you leave it plugged in, how many kilowatts? Yep. Yeah, so I did a whole video on that recently. You can go check it out. Look on the channel, look for phantom drain, and you'll see. And yeah, I think we had, like 800,000 charging trips or phantom trips, we call them, measuring the phantom drain across several thousand vehicles in the study. So yeah, should be pretty good. Go check it out. Alex asks, when do you expect additional Model 3 color choices comparable to Model S? I would like a dark blue Model 3 for myself, and current blue is just not for me. I don't know. Probably down the road. It seems like paint might be something that's relatively easy to add, right? It's just like the process of painting the car should be the same. You just have a different actual material you're using. So I don't know. Don't know if they'll have it for a while. It doesn't seem like high on the priority list, to be honest. Thanks for the question, Alex. Josue asks, with all of the negative press that Tesla gets constantly and all of the hate from the big oil and short sales that want Elon and Tesla to fail, do you think it's possible for big oil, a big company, to buy Tesla, run the company for a short time, and then close the company to finally defeat the EV movement? I hope there are laws to prevent this. I don't know. I guess in theory that's possible. I did have a segment I was going to do today, but I didn't have enough time to research it. So I'll give you the short answer here. I believe that all of these car companies should be rooting for Tesla. Tesla's not going to be the largest maker of EVs or really dominate the market in the long run. They just don't have the volume or capacity, and I don't know, if they'll ever get there. But they'll always have the best EVs, and they'll always be pushing that bar, even higher as to what is acceptable and what people want, right? Because until you've driven a Model 3, you didn't know you wanted one as much as you do afterwards. So all these companies, because a lot of them are betting big on electric vehicles, right? Mercedes, Audi, BMW, so the Germans are coming. Jaguar has theirs, so the Brits. Bugatti has an EV now, albeit it barely goes 18 miles per hour, I believe. Anyways, all these companies are betting big on it, right? And China is actually kind of the one that are forcing the issue by forcing these companies to sell electric cars. So I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see, Honda and Toyota and some of the more mainstream brands really making a ton of electric vehicles. And all of that is going to not go nearly as well if Tesla were to fail. So I don't have any doubt that Tesla will succeed. Whether or not Elon stays on as CEO, I think is a question. Certainly, it seems like he is the driving force there, and it would be a bad idea to not have him there. But some of the recent stuff he's done and some of the other things are around his behavior, certainly in a normal situation, could lead a board to vote him out. Who knows? So like there is definitely an uncertain future here, but my belief is that all of these companies that are being either forced through regulations like in China, or out of free will, like Volvo and VW and all these other companies that are trying to compete in this space because they see electric as the future, they all should be rooting for Tesla to succeed, because a healthier, stronger Tesla is critically important to the entire EV market. So I don't, regarding your question, I'm not really sure, but in general, I guess those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for the question. Mike asks, will Elon turn on extra battery capacity in Tesla vehicles near the path of Hurricane Florence? Any advice for people in that area other than evacuating with their cars? Yeah, I don't know. Potentially they will. There's also these things you can buy. I don't know if it's too late, where you can get a bag that you put your car in, and it's like, waterproof and everything like that. And there are even some photos of different hurricanes that have came through, and there's Teslas floating in these bags. So there's some crazy stuff, and I think those are useful even for regular cars. So there's some ideas there. Potentially they will. I know they have in the past, but we'll wait and see, and hopefully it doesn't come to that. But yeah, thanks for the question, Mike. Walt asks, I once had an incident where an EAP in Autopilot where a car beside me got too close to my car. Obviously, my car decreased speed very fast to avoid a collision. I didn't even see it coming. It happened all so fast that I couldn't honk the horn that fast. Not sure if the person was texting or what, but they got so close to my car that for my car to respond. What do you think if the car would also blast the horn immediately? I would think that would be difficult to discern when that's appropriate and when it's not, and different cultures and how people treat the horn. For example, if you're from the East Coast, honking the horn at somebody is like saying hello. Here on the West Coast, that's likely to get you shot. Those are some things that, some just cultural differences here within the country. So it's hard to say. I've heard of this. It's funny that, this gets mentioned all the time, that people were swerving into them and their car swerved out or did something. It probably happened 3 times yesterday to me. The car didn't move at all. Like, these guys would have clearly hit me. And my car did not detect them whatsoever. So I don't know if people have newer cars, newer Model 3s or newer Teslas that are better at this, but my Model 3 certainly doesn't fare well. So thanks for the question, Walt. Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see that in the future. All right, we got one more question here, maybe a couple more. If they don't have votes on them, I'm not going to answer. So if you guys are on Crowdcast, go make sure to do that now. Anthony asks, can you elaborate on what you've heard in the terms of how to get a Model 3 today? Might just call up my sales associate and ask if they have anything close to my specs available in the lot. Yeah, so this is a story from Electrek stating that essentially you could get your car immediately. And it was basically like, if you're okay with kind of like a new inventory vehicle, how, you don't get to choose everything, but if it's close enough, then that's great. And you can get it sooner for a cheaper price. This, I don't think you get a cheaper price on, but you can get it literally like today or this week or something. So that might be cool. Give them a call. Yeah, it's probably a good place to start. Thanks for the question, Anthony. Syscom asks, what was the most revealing thing that you heard Elon talk about during the Joe Rogan interview? For me, his discussion on level of carbon emissions was staggering. Do you have any metrics on that you can share? I did a video on it a while ago from a study that the Union of Concerned Scientists did. And I think actually a Bloomberg New Energy Finance report talking about the future and all that. Yeah, I've done some videos on that. You can go find those out there. But from the Joe Rogan podcast, I think the thing that just really stuck out to me is just how quirky and awkward Elon can be in a normal setting, in a normal conversation, and how deep he thinks about stuff. I don't know if there was anything that he touched on specifically that stood out. Everything seemed to be pretty kind of standard. Like he talked about an electric plane. Yeah, I kind of figured he had something like that, but that wasn't important. He talked about tunnels. Like, all the stuff that he talked about was nothing really new to me. And for anyone following him, you kind of got all that. I was really hoping that we could get more into his life, more of who the person is versus the technical stuff. Personally, I'm far more interested in that. So yeah, nothing really stood out to me other than just how kind of quirky and awkward and how he is, and how deep of a thinker he is. So those are my thoughts after watching it. Thanks for the question. Biotech asks, cannot find any maintenance schedule for the Model 3 like they have for the S and X, you know. Yeah, let hit me back in about 2 years when you would actually need it. Right now, don't even worry about it. Bobby G asks, recently went on vacation and charged my car right before I left. The garage was in the mid 80s. My phantom range was 19 miles for 5 full days. Is that typical? That's actually not bad. My friend did that and he lost 200 miles. And it was actually lower. So is that typical? I would say no. That's better than normal. Thanks for the question, Bobby. Jacob asks, how many days can a Model 3 be left without charging? If I won't use it for a while, will it lose 1 to 2% a day, or is it much greater? If so, why so much energy loss? Is there a fixed plan? Yes, there is a fixed plan. 1 to 2% per day. What would that be? No, I think you should probably expect more than that. And I would definitely leave it plugged in. Yeah, maybe within 2 weeks you could probably see it drop to 0. If I had an extra Model 3 just sitting around, I would actually test that there because I'd be curious. And there's so many factors that vary. It's really hard to say what is causing it. Early on, the thing was that the car would never go to sleep. Then it came to be that the cabin wouldn't go above 95 degrees. So even in like San Diego, if it's 75 degrees out, but you're in a black car, that thing is going to be well over 95 degrees. So I would literally come out to my come from my studio to my car, and the AC would have been running all day, and I lost 40 miles in a single day just sitting there during a work day. So yeah, you can easily lose greater than 1 to 2%. And yeah, it's something Tesla is aware of and they're working on. Hi, Ben. Would you try AutoPilot, common AI, in your pre-autopilot car? I don't know. Probably not. No, I don't think so. Thanks for the question. Jacob asks, I'm a college student. I will be finishing up around December. My tax liability is too low this year, but next year, even though it's less, I would qualify for more tax credit. When should I order to get my car as fast as possible and have it go into next year's taxes? Well, it happens to be when you take delivery of your car, so I don't know. I mean, if you want to be sure, I would order late December. But then again, it depends what you order. They may have it available, within a week. So maybe just wait until January 1st or something, my guess. Vic asks, is there anyone else whose horn does not blow when pressing the horn icon on the left side of the steering wheel? Horn icon on the left side of the steering wheel. I don't know. I haven't tried that. Good question. All right, guys, I appreciate your time today. Remember that, all of this stuff is fast changing, so stay tuned. We'll be back next week with more. And I have a new highlights channel. I'm going to put a link to it in the description. So if you didn't catch the full show today, or you just want to see these bits kind of rehashed out, I'm going to link to that. So that way, if you're just subscribed on the main channel, you'll just get 1 to 2 videos per week, whereas a highlights channel, you'll get maybe 4 to 5 videos. So stay tuned for all of that stuff. Thanks for joining me yet again. And don't forget, when you free the data, your mind will follow. I'll see you guys back here next time.